And of course, farmers have really been missing our communities. We farmers are accustomed to having open farm events. We're used to having kids on field trips, people just passing by and stopping in out of curiosity. And so much of that has stopped, if not all of that, has stopped over the past 2 years. And so we're hoping that Farm 24 VT can help farmers and consumers forge new relationships.
Welcome to the Farmers Feed Raising the Barn podcast, which explores the unique ways folks in the agriculture sector are marketing their businesses. I'm Caroline Allen, founder of the Farmers Feed and host of the show. COVID-19 accelerated our adoption of the virtual world. Corporations shifted from in-person meetings and conferences to Zoom meetings and webinars. Consumers joined virtual happy hours, started to attend virtual concerts, and joined communities online and across social media. Today's guest helped to usher in the world of virtual agritourism to the ag and food community of Vermont. Sarah Audette is the interim executive director at the Champlain Valley Farmer Coalition and oversees the #Farm24VT event, a day-long social media celebration of agriculture, food, and dairy in Vermont. Thanks for joining, Sarah.
Thank you for having me, Caroline.
So to kick it off, can you tell us a little bit about your connection to agriculture and your role at the Champlain Valley Farmer Coalition?
Absolutely. So I actually married into agriculture. My husband is a third-generation dairy farmer. He and his family own Blue Spruce Farm here in the Champlain Valley of Vermont. They milk a herd of 1,500 cows and sell their milk to Agrimark to make Cabot cheese. So although my husband is indeed a farmer, I actually got into agriculture in my own professional capacity. I have a background in the nonprofit sector. And a couple of years ago, I took on a farmer-led nonprofit as one of my communications clients. And that's the Champlain Valley Farmer Coalition. It's a group of farmers who are working together to protect water quality in Lake Champlain and supporting a thriving agricultural economy in our state. So since then, I've become the interim executive director because my predecessor took on a really exciting new job at the USDA. I'm going to be in this role through the end of July, working very closely with the board on strategy and helping them to find the next permanent executive director of the organization. All the while, I'll still get to keep overseeing communications for the organization and managing the Farm 24 VT project.
That sounds like you have a lot on your plate, but B, a lot of fun and exciting things that are going to be coming out of the Champlain Valley Farmer Coalition this year. So of course, farmers and ag folks across Vermont, I'm sure, are very aware of what Farm 24 VT is. But for our listeners outside of Vermont, can you tell us a little bit about what this event is?
Definitely. So Farm 24 VT is a 24-hour social media celebration of agriculture, food, and dairy in Vermont that we host in partnership with our friends at the Connecticut River Watershed Farmers Alliance. It's a day when farmers, food producers, and agribusinesses around the state will take to social media to share photos, videos, and stories, all using the Farm 24 VT hashtag. They're giving folks throughout the region a behind-the-scenes look at where our favorite local foods and dairy products come from. This year's event is coming up very soon. It's on May 18th and gets underway bright and early, just like farmers do, at 5 a.m. We're really thrilled to be hosting this event a second time because last year was a lot of fun and a big success. We had 100 participants sharing content on social media, and altogether they reached an estimated 150,000 people watching from home and school throughout the region.
That's incredible. And, as a lot of businesses were pivoting into, how to meet consumers in this new virtual world that COVID really accelerated, I think it's really awesome to show that, agritourism, which is typically more of an in-person kind of marketing technique or marketing tactic for the ag industry, you really did kind of usher in this kind of world of virtual agritourism, which I think is awesome. Where did that inspiration come from when you were first starting to put together this idea for the #Farm24VT event?
Absolutely. So our event is based on a very similar event that happens in the UK every summer called 24 Hours in Farming. Theirs is a countrywide event, so it's actually quite a bit larger than what we're doing here in Vermont, but the premise is really the same. It's about connecting people to the farmers, animals, and the lands where their food comes from. As you mentioned, the COVID-19 pandemic, has really changed how we do agritourism and many things in general. And so that's a good segue into talking more about the inspiration for this event. We decided back in August 2020 to do Farm 24 VT largely in response to the pandemic. By that point, Vermonters and folks throughout the region had an even greater appreciation for food security and safety, mostly because of the empty or sparse shelves that we were often encountering at the grocery store. And of course, farmers have really been missing our communities. We farmers are accustomed to having open farm events. We're used to having kids on field trips, people just passing by and stopping in out of curiosity. And so much of that has stopped, if not all of that, has stopped over the past 2 years. And so we're hoping that Farm 24 VT can help farmers and consumers forge new relationships.
So you talk about a little bit about the benefits, right, of not only the farmers and those agribusiness owners, but also, the community across Vermont, because they're getting this exposure to where their food comes from. And, it's educational, it's entertaining. What are some of the other benefits for farmers or other agribusinesses across Vermont who may want to participate?
Well, I think one of the biggest benefits for farmers and agribusinesses is that it's an opportunity to tell their stories in their own words. They can talk about their values, they can share what's important to them, and they can talk about why they do things the way that they do. Engaging in social media and Farm 24 VT is also an opportunity for ag folks to build relationships with consumers and other farmers. We know that when consumers trust farmers and food producers, that they want to buy more and they want to buy more local. And certainly that's a win for our local economies, and that's a win for the agricultural sector in general. I can tell you that here in Vermont, Vermonters love to eat local. Our residents tend to rank highest in the nation for consumption of locally grown and produced foods. And we see that borne out in economic activity. So these sectors, the food and agriculture sectors of Vermont, employ more than 64,000 Vermonters, which when you consider we have a population of just over 600,000, that's quite a substantial number of people. And the sectors also create more than $11.3 billion in economic activity. And then I should also say, we've got some tangible benefits for the farmers as well. And, just recognizing that folks probably have a pretty broad range of skill and comfort with social media. We do things like hosting social media workshops. We give them toolkits with all kinds of tips and templates that they can use. And we also provide them with an online support community where they can ask questions, share ideas, and just connect with other folks in the sector who are participating in the event.
I think something you said there was really important, that consumers make purchase decisions based off of know, like, and trust. And social media is an amazing way for farmers at usually very low to no cost. You don't really need to do a lot of advertising. It's a free platform. If you have the skills and you have the opportunity to reach people through social media, it really is your way to tell your story, to earn that know, like, and trust from your customer or from potential customers, and to really be able to take ownership of getting your story out there and being able to reach new consumers in a very easy, interesting way. So I love that you guys are also, providing those trainings and providing those resources as an additional kind of benefit to the farmers who are participating with you, because it's something that they can take, far past, the event date, and use those skills, throughout the year. So I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
As we know, agritourism, either virtual agritourism or in-person agritourism, it's great for agribusinesses across the country because it can bring new customers out to that farm or that business who may not have been a customer before. But then the challenge, or perhaps a better word for it, is the opportunity becomes, how do the farming folks keep the attention of these kind of new eyeballs? How can farmers, turn those participants from this event or attendees? How can they become then, repeat customers or visitors to those farms?
Yeah, exactly. So you make some excellent points, Caroline. So some of the data that we collected following our event shows that people intended to visit Vermont in general, or even a Vermont farm in particular, as a result of Farm 24 VT. And the data also showed that people intended to purchase more Vermont farm and dairy products as well. And then, just like you said, the question becomes, how do you make sure that that intention then turns into action? So just to build on what you said a moment ago, one of the things that we try to emphasize with our participants is that Farm 24 VT is just one day. It's a big day. We're obviously very excited about it. But all the education and training and tools that we give them is meant to carry them well into the future. We want them to keep sharing their stories on social media. We want them to keep engaging with their audiences in really meaningful ways. As you know, that looks a lot like just showing up consistently and posting when you can. But it also looks like sharing stories that make people think, make them laugh, or touch their hearts. And of course, if you can do all three of those things in one post, you're apt to reach a lot of people. We also talk with our participants about the 80-20 rule. So we encourage them to have 80% of their social media content in general be about educating or entertaining people, and then have the other 20% be about marketing their farm or their agribusiness or whatever their products may be. Because, nobody really likes to be sold to on a constant basis. But if they feel a connection to you and your work, they're more apt to visit your farm or make a purchase.
Yeah, I think the 80-20 rule is very important, whatever business you're in, but especially for farms, because you have access to so much potential content that is entertaining, that is educating. And in general, like those types of content, even though you're not saying, I have eggs for sale today for $4.99, people are going to be seeing like your chickens laying eggs, are going to be seeing you guys milking cows. Obviously, that means you have some kind of product to then sell them in the future. But showing people behind the scenes and not really explicitly selling to them day after day, instead really trying to balance your content, like you said, by being more entertaining, educational, providing some type of value in addition to marketing and selling your product. I definitely think folks will see a lot more return, a lot more people not churning or unfollowing, and hopefully a lot more repeat customers from that.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about not so much the effects of, marketing the farms themselves, but as part of an organization who is trying to sign up new farms to participate this year, is the Champlain Valley Farmer Coalition doing anything different when it comes to actually marketing the Farm 24 VT event?
Definitely. So I think the biggest difference in our marketing of the event this year is that we now have data and stories that we can share from our last event. Whereas in 2021, we were encouraging folks to join us in doing something that was completely brand new, and asking them to put their faith in us that this would be a really cool event and absolutely worth their time. Instead, we now have all kinds of fun and beautiful content that we can point to, as well as some concrete data showing that Farm 24 VT improves people's perceptions of agriculture. As I'm sure you're well aware, everybody in the agriculture industry is tight on time. And so I think having some examples that they can see and understanding that there's going to be a good return on their investment of time and some other resources really encourages them to engage on a deep level.
And that, I think, is a lesson that all farmers can take away from, just how you guys are running this event. Using the data and the insights from your marketing experiments, whether it's kind of the first time you're doing something, if you are doing a repeat marketing event, campaign, email blast, whatever it may be, and you've kind of tweaked something new to test against what you did before. Marketing is filled with all kinds of data and insights that let you then understand what is resonating with your audience, what is resonating with your consumer, and help you decide if it is worth it to continue that campaign, to do that campaign again, or if there's something new you should try. So I do definitely encourage all farmers to experiment, try something new, do something that you haven't done before, but also then take a little time when it's over to look at that data, look at those insights, whether that's things like, how many people shared, saved your content, how many people came to your website, how many people clicked on a link in your email, how many people showed up on your farm to this event versus last year when you did something similar, but maybe advertised in a new way. I think that is an excellent, reference point and an excellent thing that as you guys are experimenting and trying things new, to be able to look back and look at the data, then also use those kind of case studies and testimonials and proof points that you can also add to your marketing materials for the next round. Mm-hmm. So what are you looking forward to most this year? So Farm 24 VT is going to be in May, again, the second year. Is there something that you're looking forward to the most out of, kind of everything that you guys have planned?
Definitely. So what I think is most exciting about this event is that it brings our amazing agriculture community together. Folks are located all over the state of Vermont, and they represent a huge range of foods and other farm products. We've got participants who represent dairy, meat, eggs, maple, honey, fruits, herbs, fungi, rice, Christmas trees, the list goes on. We know that some folks are organic, some are conventional, but the most important thing that we all have in common is that we're very deeply committed to our work and proud to help educate the public about our food system.
I love that. Vermont is such a rich agricultural state. I have a lot of family in Vermont. My dad is from Vermont originally. I have family members who are farmers in Vermont. But I think what's so important for educating consumers about this industry as a whole is showing them all the different types of farming and ag businesses that are out there. I think a lot of times as consumers, we have this kind of picture of, the storybook farm, and we forget a lot of times about, farming that is meant for things like textile, Christmas tree farms. Obviously, people in Vermont don't forget about maple as part of the ag industry. I definitely don't, but that's something too. So I think anything that can help consumers just get a little bit closer, a little bit more knowledgeable, maybe open their eyes to something that they didn't know before this event, is just an amazing opportunity that these farmers have to, like you said, join in on a day where everyone's eyes are already going to be on the Vermont ag industry. So why would you not want to participate in that and have, the benefits that something like Vermont 24 VT brings? So we're also, this is March, Women's History Month. We know there is a very strong women in ag community. So as a woman in agribusiness, what would you say is one of the advantages that women have when it comes to being in the ag industry?
I would say that one of the advantages that women have in the ag industry is that we tend to be very relationship driven. We have a really strong desire to connect with our neighbors and our consumers. We're proud to talk about our farms. We're proud to talk about our families, and we're proud to show off where our food comes from. And so as we've talked a lot about today, it's through this relationship building that many times women in ag are engaged in, that we're fostering trust in our communities. And certainly that's made manifest all throughout Farm 24 VT. It's about education, it's about making connections. So while it is a really fun day, for sure, it's also really important work for the agriculture sector.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, marketing in general is about building a relationship with your consumer. And I would agree with you that women are in a unique position to be the relationship builders of their business, whether that is in ag, whether that is in nonprofits where you also work, which is another place where relationship building is very important, really across every kind of business. But as farms are looking to expand their customer base, as they're looking to bring new people out to their farm, as they're looking to build those relationships with consumers, attending events, whether virtual like the Farm 24 VT event, or hosting other agritourism, agribusiness events in Vermont or in their other local states, I think is an excellent way to kind of help foster relationships, and not only amongst the business to the consumer, but also amongst the farm community. We know that the farm community and the ag community is a very tight knit industry, but the more that folks can, I think, work together across, the different types of farming techniques that we have out there, the different types of kind of farms that exist, the more that we can just kind of come together and build those relationships, I think the stronger this industry becomes, and the better we can then support the consumers. So I've really enjoyed this conversation, Sarah. I think that you guys have really built something amazing that hopefully others, maybe in other states, can reach out and have a conversation with you about, maybe how to bring this, similar to the UK. Would love to see. That'd be really awesome to see an entire kind of US farm event. But if anyone out there, especially if you're in Vermont, if you're interested in learning more about #Farm24VT, you can visit farm24vt.com. I'll link it below to learn more and also sign up. There's a lot of great resources that they're providing, so I do encourage anyone in Vermont to get involved. And if y'all are not familiar with the Farmer's Feed, I help ag folks cultivate their marketing skills to tell their stories through educational resources, one-on-one consulting, and group trainings for farming and ag associations. You can learn more at thefarmersfeed.com and at the Farmer's Feed on Instagram. Thank you again, Sarah, and I wish you guys the best of luck. I know you guys are going to have a really successful event this May.
Thank you for having me, Caroline. It was such a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you, and I will talk to y'all soon.